there, students. It's your friend Pete sitting here in my office for what's probably going to be the very last video that I provide for you guys this semester, so it's sort of bittersweet for me. This one's going to deal with the data interpretation project, that is Project 5. The first thing I want to tell you about this project is that there are no sample assignments provided for you on Blackboard. In the past, I've provided you with samples completed by other students to help guide your efforts. The reason why those samples aren't included for this assignment are pretty straightforward. There are really two of them. The first reason is that the assignment's pretty easy. You'll figure it out with much more ease, I think, than you have with previous assignments. And the second, probably more rational reason for there not being examples provided for you is the fact that since we've used the same data set for a couple consecutive semesters now, if I gave you a sample assignment, you'd see all the right answers and you wouldn't have to do any work on your own. And nobody wants that, right? So because there are no samples, I want to make sure to do a pretty thorough job describing the assignment here in this video. So that's my goal now. The assignment's basically broken down into two main sections. The first section is a description and interpretation of the data, and the second section is recommendations for instruction. So in this first section, the description and interpretation of data, you're basically going to talk about strengths and weaknesses that you see in one classroom of students' test scores. Okay? You're going to talk about subjects in which the class did really well and subjects in which they didn't do well. You're also going to talk about areas within each subject that the students did well in and areas in which they didn't do particularly well. And then you're going to talk about individual students that did really well and individual students that did really poorly. All these things are described in detail on the rubric, but I just want to give you a sense for what these two main sections entail. So okay, so that's what you're going to do when you describe and interpret the data. And now you've got the recommendations for instruction. So based on your observations about the strengths and weaknesses of the class and individual students within the class, you're going to want to tailor your instruction, figure out what you need to do to remediate in order to help the individual students pick up in areas where they're not doing so well at the present time. And you're also going to talk about remediation that you're going to provide for the whole class to help them succeed more effectively in areas where they're not succeeding currently, based on the data that you'll be looking at. You also have to include some tables and graphs, okay? The assignment rubric dictates that you include 3. That doesn't mean that you have to create 3 brand new tables or graphs from scratch. There are ready-made tables that include all the data in Blackboard in the resources section. So again, I'll show you those. But you will be required to make at least one brand new original graph or table. And you can really create that graph or table on pretty much anything that you want. As you're writing this paper, you'll say, oh, this is an interesting point that I'm making about, one student compared to another, or student achievement in science compared to their achievement in math. I wish I had a graph to depict this in the way that I want to talk about it. So when you say that to yourself, just say, okay, well, I'm going to make one, and make one. You can use PowerPoint, has some pretty good graph making tools, and so does Word. So anyway, go in and make yourself at least one original graph, and remember to include all the important stuff like labeling the axes, providing keys so that I can understand what's what. Again, all that stuff is spelled out on the rubric. So that is basically it. As always, writing is a factor too, so make sure that you proofread these papers. But the two main important sections where you interpret the data and describe the data, and then where you provide recommendations for instruction, those are going to be the 2 keys. Okay? So I think without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my camera and make you all dizzy and show you some of the important documents here. So hold tight. Alright, once my camera comes into focus, you'll see I'm looking at a Word document here. This is the rubric. This is the document based on which I'm going to grade all of your work. And it's got lots of different sections that spell out all the different requirements for each of these main sections that I described before. So here you see Part 1, the data description and interpretation. And I've got a bunch of learning objectives that I want you to do. They're called elements here on this rubric. These are all the things that I want you to do. And then you can look at through the performance levels, 5-point, 4-point, 3-point, 2-point, to determine exactly what it is that, that I want you to do for each of these sections so that you'll make sure to meet all the requirements. Same thing down here in the recommendations for instruction section. I've got all the things I want you to do and all the ways that I want you to do them. Next, I've got tables and graphs. And then a brief section down here on writing, which is pretty much pro forma stuff that you've heard from me all semester long, so no need to worry too much about that. So that's the rubric. Make sure you review that. Now I'm here on our Blackboard page. In the projects folder, just like always, you'll see the folder for data interpretation. And there are a number of important things here. As usual, we've got Linda Bowles' lecture right here. And then we've got a couple really important documents down here in project activities. This is the scoring rubric that I showed you just a moment ago. And this is general feedback on Project 5. This is where another instructor and I have gone through a bunch of these assignments and identified some of the most common areas in which you guys tend to struggle. So anyway, this is a really good thing to read as you're starting to edit your own drafts. Next, resources section. Okay. Here we've got all the data. Okay, here's one table in PDF format. Here's the other table in PDF format. Now, some of you like to work with Excel, and so one of our kind previous students, Vincenza Whitley, I suppose was her name, she put all this data into Excel for you guys. So if you want to use those as 2 of your 3 graphs or tables, feel free to do that. Alright. And then, something else really important. This is an online tutorial that talks about data analysis. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't really need it for this assignment, it'll really strengthen your ideas about interpreting data in a productive, useful way as a classroom teacher. And that's really the goal after all. So do take the time to check out these tutorials because I think they'll be really useful for you. And again, down here, we've got that same document, the general feedback on Project 5. So the tutorial, the data sets, this feedback document, and the rubric are definitely the most important things for you to look at as you're preparing this assignment. So that is all I've got for you guys here on this last video for the second to last assignment. I'll probably provide you with one more brief video about the final exam here in the next week or so, and then we'll be done. So anyway, thanks for your continued attention throughout this semester, and good luck on Project 5. Oh, one more thing. Project 5 due date. I'd like you all to submit this assignment by the 11th of December, and it's really important that you abide by this due date this time because I'm going to have to provide you guys with feedback quickly in order to get final grades posted in time. So do submit this assignment on time. You don't have to do any peer reviews for it. And I think that's it. Okay, good luck and have a great day. Bye.